Alright, so let's move on to the weekly schedule. I'm going to click on that. And in the weekly schedule, this is literally your timeline divided into weeks. And as this part right here says, you are responsible for everything that's inside of these folders. So while these right here, these little notes for each week, they might give you a hint as to what's inside, you can't substitute these little notes for what's actually inside. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on a lot of the things you're supposed to be doing. So you need to click on the actual week itself and look inside of it, and it gives you not suggestions. It gives you the links to the things that you should be dealing with. So first week, you're going to be going through all those orientation materials. You need to do the class introductions forum. It's mandatory. You also need to do these required lectures. So yes, the first week I really do start you into lectures right off the bat. We're going to roll up our sleeves and just jump into this. That's the only way we can actually cover the amount of material we need to cover in one semester. And so this is, by the way, these lectures are going to kind of help you get started, getting set up, so that you can have a local development environment on your own computer. Most students elect to do this. I rarely have someone who doesn't. So just know that you should be doing this as soon as you get started with this class. So don't dally around too much. Technical discussion board, if you have questions about technical issues, like if you're having problems with something, peers are supposed to help. I check in on it. And then there's this download, for instance, like to the base folder for your exercises. Even though you don't have to start on your assignments this week, you can, which means that you would want to move up to the breadcrumb trails and go back to the weekly schedule and go into week 2 if you wanted to see what was in there. You're required in week 2 to do all of these lectures. These are really important. You won't be able to understand what you're supposed to be doing for your assignments if you don't actually look at the lectures. Required lecture here, getting started with assignments. A lot of people like to skip straight into the assignment because they think that they're going to try it before they actually watch the lectures. I'm telling you right now, don't waste your time, just watch the lectures. The way that our assignments are set up is sort of unique, and you really need to watch this, otherwise you'll be lost. You won't know what you're supposed to be doing to get your required credit, and it'll basically mess up a number of things for a while if you get behind. So just watch it. It doesn't take too long. Exercise 1. Okay, so you need to start and complete that by the end of Sunday, the second week. And this is just giving you an idea of the timeline. You need to be looking into this stuff and don't make assumptions about when things are due. Actually go and look at the due dates. Look at the assignments. Know what you're responsible for. For instance, if we go and look at exercise 1, it tells you what the objectives are. It tells you, hey, before you start, go back and make sure you watch this video so that you understand how to work with your files. And then down here it also tells you, okay, this is what you need to have prepared. So where it says how to proceed, okay, it tells you all the things you need to do to prepare to actually complete your assignment. Right, completing and turning it in, tells you what to do. So when you're finished with an assignment, you not only do you put it up on the class server in your designated student folder that you'll get later, you'll see that later, but you also need to go and literally at the top of this page right here where it says E1 or E2 or whatever, you need to click this link, and what you need to do is after you've uploaded everything to the server, I don't want you to attach your student work files here. What I want you to do is copy the URL address, so basically the address that's up here, but the one that would actually be for your student web page, not your Blackboard page. Like if this was your student website, you would copy this address. And I want you to paste it here. And what this does when you turn it in and you hit submit is it shows me that the stuff that's on the server is ready for grading. Because a lot of students will do testing. They'll put it up on the server and make sure it looks okay on their server, on this class server, even though it looked okay on their computers. And so sometimes there will be errors, or I'll see things that aren't quite right, and I don't know if you're intending to turn that in or not. So if you don't do it this way, where you You copy the URL for the actual address for where it exists up in the cloud on our class server and paste it here and submit, then I'm not going to think that you turned it in, that it's not ready for grading. I don't want to have to go and search out every single student's work, by digging around the file directories. So tell me exactly where it is and that it's ready for grading, and I'll grade it. So also this breadcrumb trail, see how it jumped to a different place? I can click this ellipses mark, and it tells me that now I'm actually in the assignments exercises folder looking at exercise 1. If I click back, it actually takes me back to my, well, I guess I'm still in the same place. But if I hit back again, I was in the weekly schedule, and that's how I got into the assignments folder, by clicking that. So anyway, point taken, you need to look inside of every single week and check in to see what you're doing, and I recommend looking a week in advance to see what's coming up, at least a week in advance. Okay, under course content, you have the syllabus, and if you click on this, it'll take you to that syllabus link that I already showed you. Okay, discussion board. You're going to be responsible for doing several discussions throughout the semester. I want you to look at them. FAQ is not for credit. And again, this is reiterate in the due date section. It tells you what is graded and what the percentages are. The introduction is graded. The technical design discussion boards, weeks 1 through 2 graded, 3 through 4 graded, 5 through 6 graded, 7 through 9 is not graded. Okay, but by the time you get to this place in the semester, you'll see that these technical discussion boards are really helpful, so you should participate. Project 3 mock-up design is graded. You have to follow this. It's about 5% of your grade. And then this last one is also graded. It's where you're turning in your final work, okay, and your artist statement. And for assignments, I sort of talked a little bit about that already. In terms of, like, if you click on exercises, you've got these assignments. But basically, our assignments are broken into 2 main categories, exercises and main projects. Main projects have a higher point value. Exercises are sort of to teach you the fundamentals and get you to where you're going, ultimately. So if we look in exercises for a moment, you'll see that there's a thing called the base template. You're going to have to download that to start your exercises. If you click on it, it's got some information. Here's the template you have to download. It explains exactly what you need to do. Okay, so and it tells you, it reminds you again, hey, if you really want to understand what you're supposed to be doing with this, watch this demo that says getting started with the assignments. It tells you where it's located. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so let's go back to assignments. I'm not going to go through all the exercises. You can look at that. Oh, well, I will say real quick, under exercises, if you want to ever compare what you're doing on your exercises to what it should look like, you can click on this and it takes you to something that has completed stuff, and like this part right here, this is kind of the stuff that should show up. So you can see if what you've got showing up on your page is actually matching it, and you'll know if you're doing it right. Okay, let's go back real quick and look at the projects, main projects. Okay, so you can look here and start to understand a little bit. And by the way, whenever you start to do your assignments, I explain in detail in a lecture demonstration stuff more about the assignment, but you can read all of this information. And then it gives you some design information for good design references. And then we're going to be using WordPress later this semester, so I'm going to show you guys how to do that. And we're going to have 2 WordPress projects. The very first one is going to be sort of a simpler one to get you familiar with certain aspects of it. And the last one is going to be where you're writing your own custom child theme, so that you're not using somebody else's theme, but you're writing your own. So it's going to have a lot to do with styling. So if, by the way, by the end of this class, it's not just going to be like all PHP. It's going to be, where is it? Yeah, it's this one right here. It's going to be a lot of understanding how PHP and HTML work together, and also really understanding styling and styling rules and document object model and those kinds of things. And you'll get a lot of walkthroughs, but you need to understand that, designing websites is not just the sort of wonky, computer sciencey part of it in the background. To actually get things to look good and professional, you actually really have to know the design part of it, or at least how to do some styling. And even if you don't feel like you're really a designer, like if you're coming, let's say, from the computer science part of this, and you're taking this class, this will actually really help you understand a lot of what designers are facing. And because if you are a computer science person, you're going to have to work with designers. And designers, if you are scared of the code stuff, you're going to have to work with developers. If this ends up not being your, main cup of tea, it's really good experience for at least understanding the basis of how these things work. So that's the assignments. Now, lectures and demos over here. I'm going to click on that. This is an integral part of this class. Almost every lecture that I'm going to link to is actually going to be archived in this area. So I'm pretty good about outlining all of the lectures here. So if you click inside of any one of them, let's start with learning PHP data types. There's a data types overview. See, it's a folder, so it's got a subset of stuff. And you can see that there are some videos here. And I almost always will tell you how long they're going to be unless I forgot to put it there. So you know what your time outlay is going to be like. And so that's just one part. And this will help you actually understand how to manage your time as well, and saying like, okay, well, this is how much time it's going to take for me. And I typically will not try to assign more hours in lecture than I say would have in a normal lecture class. So you just need to understand that just because we're online doesn't mean I'm not going to be talking to you a lot. Okay, I will have contact with you almost every single week in terms of lecture and demonstration. Okay, even if it is in the form of something recorded. So you can look through all of these things, and that's just the data type section. So in the lectures and demos area, it's going to be, I think, very helpful for you to always look at the book, the breadcrumb trails to see, how deep you are. So, all right, but you can look through this, and then we get down into WordPress, and then the stuff in the pink at the bottom where it says dig deeper. These are not things that you're assigned to do for credit. These are things that I maybe at one time, maybe I had them as required pieces of information in the class before I moved to a different model, or maybe I just think that it's really useful stuff for you to know. So those of you who really do want to get into a deeper understanding, when we start getting into WordPress, a lot of this stuff becomes a little bit more transparent. And so those of you who really want to understand the way it's working in the back end, you can start to do these things, okay? And it's going to help you a lot more, okay? So I've tried to customize the class for lots of different populations, whether it's design student, computer science student, somewhere in between student, so that you can get the education that you're looking for, hopefully. Okay, so lastly, we have this section called links, books, and resources in the content area. And this is really straightforward. Our required books and things, in addition to them being in the syllabus, they're also here. This is just a recommended book. You don't have to buy that, but you should also know that they have this at the MiraCosta Library. It's available for e-checkout, so you can check that out through their ebooks section. And down below, let's go back here. And then there's some other things that are like links that might be useful to you, other resources. But you can peruse through there. They're just for kind of like if you want to look at them. This is where you check your grades. You can contact me here. If you need to know how to add or drop something, please don't ask me. Please just look here, okay? Blackboard tutorials, collaborate, student help, etc. Okay, so that's the intro to our class. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Preferably, I would like for you to only contact me after you've looked at all the materials in Blackboard. But if for any reason you can't get into Blackboard right away and you have an urgent question, send me an email. No problem. Okay? All right. I look forward to the semester with you.